arms towards the sun. You feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive, and you don't have to be afraid of anything, 'cause you know the truth, and the truth is love, yes it is. Wasn't what they said to you, or anything that you learn from a book or from the news. It's not like that, 'cause it's a thing. It is something that you do. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Dib on baby did long. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Doop 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 a doo. Dib on baby did love's the highest truth. Nothing could be higher than love, my friend.
Welcome to the Bassline, everyone. Dr. Joe Lee is the founder of the Lasik Eye Center. He is another brave doctor who had the principles and the courage to speak out against mad science and medical tyranny. He has composed a brilliant theoretical framework for the harms being inflicted by COVID vaccines, as well as other vaccines, which also negates the validity of mRNA as a platform, called string theory. It is with enthusiastic glee that I welcome to the Bassline Dr. Joe Lee. Good morning, Dr. Lee. How are you today?
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm not usually a morning person, and I had a late night, and my voice always sounds a little rough in the morning, but I'm very glad to be on the show.
Oh, okay. Try to talk directly into your phone, Dr. Lee. It's a little bit, it's a little muddy.
How's that?
Oh, there we go. That's so much better. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm so excited for this interview. Dr. Lee is such a fascinating individual, everyone. There's a lot of brilliant minds who are questioning the dominant narrative. There's a lot of outstanding figures that I would consider on the right side of history. But Dr. Lee is someone who brings some really unique perspectives to the table and has provided us with a really strong theoretical framework to critique the harms that are being inflicted to people. But I would like to ask you, first of all, Dr. Lee, could you just give us some insight into your predicament, your circumstances as they were announcing global pandemic? Where are you in the country? Were you subjected to absurd medical mandates? What did you personally go through in your particular location, wherever you are in the country? Tell us about it, please.
So at the very beginning, of course, no one knew how crazy the world would behave. But at the very beginning, I had a couple of friends, and all we did was talk about the virus from Wuhan, because we thought, okay, so, what's the worst virus that can happen? Ebola. What should we do to prepare? Get masks. So I bought this $700 mask, and when it arrived, I put it on for a minute, maybe 30 seconds, and I instantly realized we would never be able to do this. No one will ever be able to do this for 24 hours a day. And even if you were of a kind of mind that could do this, your friends, your family, your loved ones would never be able to do this. So basically, no one can do this. That's what I realized.
Yeah. So it was the mask that first clued you in that, okay, we're going down a slippery slope of shaky information?
Yeah, and that was December before 2020, and by January, I was on the phone with an ophthalmologist friend, and I figured out a lot of stuff in that one phone call, and I just basically asked questions to him and to myself. And the way I phrased it was this, because, there are plenty of people who don't believe in viruses right now.
Yeah,
I can tell you that everyone that I ever run into that had any kind of sickness, I would get. So I never doubted viruses, because I always got sick. I was the one that always got whatever illness anyone else had.
Yeah.
If my kids got sick, I always got sick. So I hated it. So I asked myself this. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that I am a cell And people get sick. When you get sick, you feel a sore throat. So there are many times when I felt a sore throat, and within 2 days I was over it. But I was sure that I was sick. I was sure that I had been infected by a virus because my throat was sore and scratchy, and I was coughing. In a couple of days, 2 to 3 days, I was over it. Now, from that experience, I said, look, it can't be an antibody. Antibodies, even the second, third time around, you'll never develop antibodies within 3 days. So whatever my body did to fight this virus off, it could not have been an antibody. So I said, okay, I'm going to pretend to be a cell. If I'm a cell and the virus infects my cell, that means the virus injects the RNA into my cell. Okay, that viral RNA inside my cell is the enemy. What should I do? I should destroy it. What else should I do? I don't want to ever accidentally help it. And if I'm a cell and I've been infected by this virus and it injected this RNA into me, if I figure out the strategy to fight this virus, I should tell all the other cells, the allies, the friendlies, what my strategy is. So it was very simple to me. You destroy it. Okay, who doesn't know that's what you do to the enemy, is you destroy it. What else? You don't accidentally help it. Okay, this RNA, this viral RNA inside my cells, what does it want to do? It wants to become protein. Don't accidentally help it. Okay, limit the resources. Don't eat a lot. So I said, destroy it, don't help it, and tell the friendlies how to fight it. I go back to my room, I look it up. How do you destroy RNA? You look up anywhere online. Ribonuclease enzymes destroy RNA. I said, okay, that's simple, that's easy. That's got to be the answer, because we had to have destroyed that viral RNA inside our cells. Okay, what else is there? Has anyone ever come up with another hypothesis for what destroyed this viral RNA? No one. So I said, ribonuclease enzymes. Okay, destroy it. And ribonuclease enzymes, RNase enzymes, are very efficient. Scientists have studied RNase enzymes more than any other biological molecule in the history of science. We have more information on RNase enzymes than any other molecule in biological science. And it's very effective at destroying RNA. Okay, it can destroy human RNA, we all know that. Why would they not think it can't destroy viral RNA? RNA is just bits of information in different ordering in a long chain, in a long strand. This RNase enzyme can't tell the difference between viral RNA and our human RNA. It just destroys it. 2, how do you not help it? Okay, so I thought, don't have the resources available so it can replicate itself. And the best way to do that is not eat a lot. And then I actually found the exact connection between not eating and viral RNA destruction. RNase is this enzyme that we know a lot about. We also know that it has an inhibitor that binds to it, that prevents it from working. That bond between the RNase and its inhibitor is the strongest non-covalent bond that we know about in biological chemistry. They talk about this all the time. You can just look it up, and it's everywhere. And then, how does fasting help the situation? Well, when you fast, it's like a wood stove. If you have a lot of fuel, you'll have less oxygen inside the wood stove. If you don't eat a lot, you'll have more reactive oxygen species. This RNase inhibitor, once it's oxidized, it falls off and the RNase is active. So RNase is like a pit bull, but it has a muzzle. When you stop eating, this muzzle comes off, and the RNase is free to destroy RNA. It will destroy our RNA. Of of course, it'll destroy viral RNA too. But we don't have a problem destroying our RNA because we always have DNA and we can make more RNA. So the 3 steps are very simple. You destroy the viral RNA. You don't actually help it. And not eating is the best cure for COVID, every variant of COVID, every variant of the flu. And then how do you tell the friendlies how to fight this? Well, a sick cell will create interferon. Interferon, one of the main effects of interferon is it goes to another cell and it prevents that cell from translating mRNA into protein. Oh, so interferon inhibits growth. Oh, how great is that? That's the answer. So, everyone talks about theoretical, how fast could this pandemic have been ended? Oh, if everyone had stayed home for 2 weeks, isolate themselves. People had all sorts of ideas. Theoretically, the fastest way this pandemic would have been over all over the world if everyone fasted for 2 to 3 days. Of course, that's never going to happen. But once you realize how simple the cure is for COVID, okay, you wouldn't even worry about getting it. Why? Okay, you're infected with COVID. You feel a little sick and your throat is sore. Don't eat for 2 to 3 days. And you starve that virus. If you go back and look at Auschwitz, which was a horrible event in human history, 5 million Jews died in concentration camps all over Europe. And Europe has horrendous winters. And the Jewish people had no clothing, shelter, heating. And yet, how come the flu didn't wipe everyone out? Because viruses do not grow very well when you don't eat. And what's my proof? Look at every one of us on Earth, 7 billion of us. When we were young and we got sick, what did we do? We got fussy and we didn't eat. Every parent knows this. Evolution already found the answer. The answer to an RNA virus is to starve it. It's amazingly simple. And I had discussions with the FDA. I had emails back and forth. And they finally said, we can't review your information. Well, you looked at it for, how many months back and forth, and now you can't look at it? You can't review it? You said that anything that could potentially help COVID, you're going to look at.
Right, sure.
And I explained to you that your antibody is a really large molecule. And the way the COVID antibody works is it supposedly gets into the lung, and it neutralizes the virus before the virus can infect your lung cells. The problem is the lung is surrounded by a waterproof jacket that prevents water from filling our lungs. Okay, water molecules are tiny. If this lung barrier can stop water molecules, which are really tiny, COVID antibodies are 8,000 times more mass than a water molecule. And how does it get in? It doesn't. When I first discovered this antibody issue, I reported to my mentor, who's the director of opto at Johns Hopkins. He trained me in refractive surgery at USC in 1998. He was shocked. He thought I'd win a Nobel Prize. From one conversation in May of 2020, he thought I would win a Nobel Prize.
Wow.
Because, this is the biggest thing that anyone was ever discussing in medicine, and they got this wrong. The flu vaccine, it never worked.
Yeah,
it never worked via a neutralizing antibody like they thought. Oh, but they had a built-in excuse. Their excuse was, the strain changed on us this year. That's why our vaccine didn't work so well.
Can I just tell you anecdotally, Dr. Lee, when my godmother died, she was, I don't know, maybe in her early 60s, and it was rather sudden. And my grandmother, I remember, as soon as we got this sad news that my godmother died, the first thing my grandmother said is, I told her not to take those damn flu shots. And that was just my grandmother's point of view. But I have another very good friend who I believe is listening right now. She very sadly lost her mother to the flu shot. Her mother took a flu shot and was dead shortly thereafter, had radical response, and then was dead. I know another person who took a flu shot really fit guy, actually a fitness guy and a health nut who wasn't into flu shots, got convinced to take one and had some sort of Bell's palsy sort of just, he was sitting there with his friend later that day after having taken the shot, and his face just started drooping. And his friends, are you okay? You look like something's going on with you. And then the guy like passed out and was taken to the hospital and has spent years and years now trying to regain his health when he was as fit as a fiddle. So again, three anecdotal stories right there, but I've never trusted flu shots. And when they asked my mom, she went in for her physical, and they asked her, well, would you like a flu shot, ma'am? She said, no, thank you. Then before she left, they said, well, why don't you want a flu shot? And my mom said to them, well, because the people I knew who took flu shots on a regular basis are no longer with us.
And that never got any attention, right? Because, the flu shot is spread out, not everyone takes it, and there wasn't that, activation. There just weren't enough cases at the same time for people to pay attention. But the flu vaccine, the flu shot could never have worked via their neutralizing antibody. Now, because of that mistake, okay, so that's a huge mistake in the understanding of believing that the flu shot would work, but they had their built-in excuse. So the flu shot, everyone knew it existed. So when Fauci looked for solutions for COVID and how we could possibly help, every scientist knew that a new medication wouldn't be possible, because to get through toxicology studies, you don't know if the medication is going to destroy your liver or kidney. You have to do studies, and animal studies take up to 5 years, 10 years. So everyone knew a new medication was not a possibility. Okay, so the closest thing to reflect the COVID pandemic was the flu virus. So they said, what do we do for the flu virus? Oh, we do a vaccine. So that's why they modeled this COVID vaccine after the flu vaccine. Now, they didn't know the flu vaccine was this fatally flawed. No one knew. I didn't know. But when I discovered this, that the antibody couldn't get into the lung, and I realized, the flu vaccine has the same flaw. But no one even thought about why it didn't work, because they just told us that the strain changed. But the real reason why the flu vaccine never worked was because the antibody never even got into the lung. Now, so then, with Fauci, I sent him all this information, September 2020.
Guys, did you hear that? I'm sorry, Dr. Lee, to interrupt you, but this is such a key point. Do you guys hear what he's saying? The antibody never got into the lung. So please, I'm sorry, continue. That's such a key point.
Yeah, and when I sent Fauci this information, remember, I could convince my mentor, who's director of ophtho at Johns Hopkins, the chief editor of Ophthalmology Times for 15 years. There's not an ophthalmologist on earth who doesn't know who he is. And when I explained this issue, he didn't say, where are your references? Where are your peer-reviewed studies? He was just in shock. He's been in academic ophthalmology research forever, and he's very well respected, and he was just in shock because, you don't need peer-reviewed studies when you have information this black and white. Our lung barrier keeps our lungs dry. Our body is 70% water. Water doesn't get into our lungs because of our lung barrier. Okay, so the antibody is 145,000 Daltons. A water molecule is 18 Daltons in size. The COVID IgG antibody has no path into our lung airspace, which is where infections are occurring. And the censorship was so crazy that I remember I couldn't get on anywhere. I was anywhere I went, Facebook, wherever I went, Doximity, I would post stuff, type, leave comments. Within a day, it was gone. I finally got to the point where, I didn't even think about getting on Twitter for a long time, but I finally got on Yahoo Finance for Moderna. And you can leave comments on their finance board. And I would just leave all sorts of comments explaining, but see, the Democrats, the left, the people who are pro-vaccine, they can't believe a mistake of this magnitude was made. They're like, there's a million studies on vaccines. No, you can't tell me that they all missed this fact. Oh, sorry, they did. And so when my mentor heard this, he didn't ask me for peer-reviewed studies or anything. He just said, well, it's a stark black and white fact in science. Size matters. And if a small molecule can't get through a barrier, a larger molecule can't get through. It's not like this is complex science. So the antibody was a nightmare mistake. When I reported to Fauci, he tried to respond via Dr. Emily Belding, and she said, thank you for the letter to all these people. Because I sent this letter explaining this flaw to every congressperson and every member of Congress, and a lot of people at the NIH and FDA and CDC. So they were basically forced to respond because, Fauci's team got this letter from me, from other people, from other, departments, and the other departments would say, okay, Dr. Lee, this isn't our division, but we're going to send forward this to Dr. Fauci's team. So he was forced to respond. And Dr. Belding, when she responded for Fauci, said it gets across by simple diffusion. I mean, her words were slightly different, but that was the essence of what she said. And my mentor, who saw, when he saw this, because he was also CC'd on everything. So, I have perfect proof that the information was delivered and that they got it and that they responded to me. And Dr. Peter McDonald is no small guy. He's, every ophthalmologist on earth knows who he is. And he's the director of opto at Johns Hopkins. He's not like some no-name person. And, he was CC'd on everything too. And I CC'd this to everybody. Okay, so they got the information. They're in shock. It looked like they wanted to bury my information, though. And so I followed up with 73 pages. And it's a very simple problem. The antibody can't get into the lung because of the barrier, because of the size. I covered every aspect of this in 73 pages. I didn't want to leave Fauci any excuse to say he didn't understand something, and he never replied. But that 73 pages, I put a U.S. copyright on, it's going to send Fauci to prison or bring him capital punishment. Because you can't overlook a mistake this large and say, oh, no, we have an answer. Dr. Belding, her answer? She quoted Wagner from 1985. That's like a, 30 or 35-year-old paper in medicine that is ancient. And even Wagner agreed with me. Wagner said simple diffusion of a molecular size, it would be less than 1%. The paper that she quoted me to justify her vaccinating 10 billion people was this 35-year-old paper that basically agreed with me. So this is how broken science is when you're a Democrat. I am sorry, but Democrats are the problem here. Is there they all have to stay on the same page? Because when I would call CDC directors, within, for the average person, for me to explain this issue can take a little bit of time. But for a scientist, when I say, hey, lung barrier, size, I mean, they're just stunned. And they immediately get it. And not a single one would do the right thing. I mean, I have amazing evidence. Because I had a feeling that people were going to act shitty. So I kept an amazing paper trail. And I kept, when I would call these people up on their answering machine, I'm allowed to tape. I tape me giving them information. Because I need every bit of information I can get. I remember talking to the FDA media director, 30 minutes. Explained everything. He was in shock. And I'm like, you FDA, you got to do the right thing here. Because the American public will never trust you guys again if you get egg on your face right now. You have not done anything wrong. You didn't know about this issue, but I'm bringing it to you.
Right.
And once I bring it to you, now it's in your lap and you have to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. I even got through their chief legal counsel. I had an email back and forth with their chief legal counsel. I said, look, give me the name of one scientist who can explain how the antibody crosses the lung barrier and enters the lung. You do that, I'll shut up. But if you can't do that for me, you have to have a warning label on every one of your vaccines that states that. We, the FDA, think you should take the vaccine. But we don't know how the antibody enters the lung. Now, if you do that, there's not a mother on earth that would ever let her child get that vaccine. So I said, see, you, FDA, even you have vaccine legal immunity via the PrEP Act for your vaccine activities. But you can't be involved in willful misconduct. The moment I tell you that you don't know what's happening, you have to let the people know. If you roll this out without letting them know, that's willful misconduct. And I told the chief legal counsel, you are going to lose your job. Your children will ask you, Dad, why couldn't you just do the right thing?
Yeah.
And your life will be ruined, and your children's lives will be ruined. All this in emails, like well before I ever got on Twitter. So by the time I got on Twitter, I was super angry.
Yeah.
And then I realized that the anti-vax leaders on this side, they're all, I won't say all, but 99% have the same problem. I'm like, for the first time, RFK, I got through to RFK. And RFK was excited to get my information. How do I know? Because I talked to his lawyer, and his lawyer said, because I couldn't find information to get through to anyone. But you can always find their lawyer, and their lawyers always have a landline, a day office phone number that you can call.
Yeah.
So I called his lawyer. He said, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes, 2 minutes. 2 minutes, I spilled it all.
Mm-hmm.
And sent him all my information. He was impressed enough to forward it to RFK. RFK got the information, 73 pages, my summary explanation of everything. That email, RFK was excited enough to forward it to all his people. Nass, Malone, McCullough, Corey. I didn't even know most of these. I knew about Nass. I knew of Nass. I knew of Malone. I didn't know McCullough. I didn't know Corey. But I didn't know Paul Alexander. I didn't know all these guys. Okay, so now they all have it, and RFK forwarded it to all his 30 dozen consultants that same day. That's how interested and excited he was. Okay, then they started beating me up on it. I'm like, by the end of our email back and forth, like at least half a dozen to a dozen, by the end of that conversation, I said, are you guys anti-vaxxers? You're acting like you don't want my information. You're acting like you're not anti-vaxxers, because an anti-vaxxer would get my information, the paper trail I had created, because RFK got this August 2022. I started this paper trail with Fauci September 2020 before the rollout. So, the antibody never enters the lung, has no path into the lung. No one knows how it gets in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that kind of ends the deal there, right there.
Yeah.
So then RFK should have taken that, and I explained, RFK doesn't even have to agree with me. All he has to say is, hey, what's going on here? Bring the public's attention, bring the world scientists' attention to this fact, and that vaccine would have been over. RFK didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's why I still beat up on him.
Yeah.
Because if you're a defender of children, and I give you really good information to take down the vaccine, this was August 2022 when he got all this information from me, and I have that perfect evidence that RFK got this information. Why? Because he forwarded that email to everyone, including me, from his cell phone. So I have the information. He had the information. And Dr. Paul Alexander, I didn't even realize this until later, Dr. Paul Alexander wrote back, emailed back to the whole group and said, Dr. Lee is 100% correct.
Yeah.
On this issue, right?
Yeah.
And he's proud to be a part of this, whatever. And then RFK decided not to use it. But look at the three people. Four people, Nass, Malone, McCullough, and Corey. Well, I had gotten through to Senator Ron Johnson's staff, and they loved my information. They were excited. They're like, wow, you mean the antibody can't even cross the lung barrier? I'm like, yeah. I documented it really well, and I sent it to everybody, hundreds of people, thousands of people. And so Ron Johnson's staff loved my information. I have emails with them. I have recording. This was November 2021. Could have been over. But then they said, we need to talk to our consultants. Okay, so they talk to their consultants. Then they lose interest in anything I have to say. I said, what's going on? I said, let me talk to your consultants with you, your physicians with you, because they're not telling they're not telling you anything correct. They're just trying to not use this information for whatever reason. I don't understand it. But later I found out that the three main consultants were McCullough, Corey, and Malone. So when I got on Twitter, I started beating up on them. And they all blocked me, of course.
Oh, wow.
But my experience with all these people were they were blocking me from long ago. So, October 2022 is when I started getting on Twitter. And I I was just really mad at all these people because, look, you pretend you're anti-vaccine, COVID vaccine. I'm giving you great information. No one has a paper trail that started this early with information this good, with a response from Fauci that puts them in the hot seat. And you guys won't use it. I mean, I even had U.S. copyrights on this thing. And I had world-famous ophthalmologists CC'd on this email. I had perfect proof. And why aren't you guys using it? So that I was just livid. I was angry with too many people. And, you know, I always thought, okay, we'll get this information out in a week and it'll be over. We'll get this information out in a week and it'll be over. Mm-hmm. So, yes, people thought I was rude. Well, yeah, people are dying. So shouldn't I move this along as quick as possible? And, you know, Meryl Nass, this is the funny part of this whole email. Meryl Nass, I had reached out to her very politely, explained everything. She didn't even ask me questions. First time she had ever heard of this issue, she didn't ask me questions. She just said, well, I don't think it's important. And she hung up on me. And I was not rude at all. But why would I ever be rude to somebody on the phone for the very first time if I think they might possibly help me? Okay, so she hung up. Then she gets the email from RFK like a month or two later. And she started being very negative about it. And then a couple other people followed behind her. And, you know, then Malone never said a word. McCullough never said a word. Corey never said a word. Paul Alexander said I was 100% correct. But see, those people were the problem. Okay, so for all that McCullough does and says, oh, he's saving lives, I'm like, McCullough, you are killing lives. You had the best information to stop this vaccine August 2022, and you didn't use it. You were just silent. So I have no respect for most of these guys, and I have reasons for having no respect for them. I bumped into them and not even knowing who they were. I kept bumping into them. They kept blocking my efforts, right? So then I got about March or April of last year, I got completely censored and banned off. My Twitter account was basically canceled. I mean, I had 45,000 followers in like 6 months, and they gutted it. I had 45,000 tweets, they got it, and they got rid of it. So I was off Twitter. So I just had to write down everything I had learned, put it into a big, you know, PDF file and send it to everyone. And in the process of doing that, I kept thinking to myself, okay, so why are they giving the booster? Why are they giving the booster? You already have antibodies. Why are you giving the booster? Why are you giving the booster? And I kept going over this. And then one night it just hit me. Okay, you give the COVID vaccine. They have COVID antibodies. 2 months later, you give another vaccine that makes the body make spike antigen. Well, doesn't the COVID antibody stick to the spike antigen? So if you give a vaccine and they have the antibodies, 2 months later, you come and give the booster vaccine, which is the antigen. The antibody will stick to the antigen. And I kept thinking, why would they do this? What's going on? And I kept thinking, looking for a reason, a good reason why they would do this. And I couldn't find one. And then I saw it grow in my mind. Like, just a minute, antibodies have two arms. The antigen, you know, can glue together two antibodies. Because if one arm of the antibody sticks to the antigen, and then another antibody molecule, one arm sticks to the other side of the antigen, it can just glue it together and keep growing like a big chain. And I drew it all out, and I started that original drawing, and I started writing it up because I couldn't sleep for a couple of days. Because I'm like, this is going to end it.
Yeah.
This will end the vaccine, and not only will it end the vaccine, it'll end childhood vaccines. Because a mother, when she sees that video, no one can get rid of that. They can't forget what they saw. Every pediatrician that I talk to, that I inform this, I know they start having nightmares. Oh my God. We just gave Johnny the DTaP vaccine. He has DTaP antibodies. Now it's 2 months later. He has DTaP antibodies in his blood. And you're going to put DTaP antigen into his blood? Because when I first put the string theory on Twitter, I had an old account that I had never used, but I had signed up a long time ago and So I used that one because I didn't want to sign up for a new account. I didn't know what Twitter was going to do to me. So I used that old account, and when I put the string theory up, I knew it would make perfect sense. But then somebody found, Kalish and Schnickety found the exact same drawing I had put up for the string, showing the antibodies and antigen and antibodies just growing, the exact same drawing in their immunology textbooks. So I don't have to show this anymore. I don't have to prove it. So I tell everyone, look, this is what the string mechanism shows. It shows that when you have antibody in solution, and then you add antigen, they're all going to stick together. And that is your strongest science. And it will clump, and you will be able to see it. That's what they say. They call this a precipitin. Precipitin. They call this a precipitin. They have a name for this thing. And it's in their textbooks. Textbooks are supposedly beyond peer-reviewed papers. Well, something is in peer-reviewed papers for a long while, and everyone thinks it's established science. Then it goes into a textbook. This is in their textbooks. So I don't have to show them peer-reviewed papers. I know this is occurring.
So, Dr. Lee, when you came up with the term string theory, I'm familiar with that as something out of quantum mechanics. Is this something that sort of borrows from that a little bit? Is it analogous to that a little bit, or is it unrelated with just the same name?
It's related only for me. It's only related for me.
Right.
I mean, it looks like a string. You know, it just keeps growing.
Right.
So it describes it. But yeah, I understand they use this term in physics. But you know, the moment that when RFK rejected my information, when RFK forwarded my information to his consultants, that was the happiest day of my life over the 3 years of the pandemic, 2 years of the pandemic, because I wasn't getting anywhere, and now RFK is picking this up, and he's excited about it enough to forward it to a dozen consultants, right?
Yeah.
So I was pretty excited. But then the way they reacted to it, and they were bitching at me, and they closed it all down and decided. And the very last guy, his last email to me back in this chain of emails was, "Stop harassing me. Don't send me any more emails." I'm like, you guys aren't anti-vaxxers. There's something else going on. I don't understand what's going on in your minds, but you guys aren't anti-vaxxers.
Right.
So then, you know, I was so depressed, I stopped working on this. And you know, I told myself, no. I mean, I've been doing this fight for 2.5 years, and there are many people who understand it, but then they want to get away from me. I'm like, so they understand it, but they just don't want to be involved in it. And, you know, like USC, the infectious disease chief at USC Hospital. I mean, I did my fellowship at USC. I thought, okay, I have some pull. I'll call her up. And she was very nice to me. And as we talked for at least 20, 30 minutes. She was very nice about everything. And then she realized it's a completely anti-vaccine message, right? The antibody can't get into the lung. This is as anti-vaccine as you can get. And she started realizing, oh, this is serious. And she hung up on me. She didn't even say bye.
Wow. Strange. Very strange.
It was, to me, like, okay, guys, are you scientific? I mean, I'm exposing a huge flaw with this, and we can save people's lives. People don't have to get fired because they didn't get the vaccine, because the vaccine can't work.
Right.
So wouldn't you be happy to help me, but hang up on me? So, you know, I already started having inklings of the weirdness of people and scientists. But then when RFK turned me down, I was depressed. And I said, no, the dummies cannot only be in medicine. They've got to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. So I said, okay, where else? What did I hate when I studied? I hated the double slit experiment in physics, which led to quantum physics. I hated the double slit experiment. It never made sense to me. So I said, okay, I'm just going to spend a month destroying this double slit experiment interpretation. And it only took me a week. And I did it so well, I haven't published it yet, I did it so well that quantum physics would die because of that experiment. And it only took me a week. So the dummies are not just in medicine, they're everywhere. And it turns out education makes people look intelligent.
Yeah, right.
But the most important thing in life, to me, the basis of all intelligence is common sense. Now,
I've been
people
saying I
without
think we
common
should
sense,
maybe we should jettison that term, because it's like, let's not use that term anymore. We've done so many ridiculous
I get
things
it.
up to this point that maybe we just should refrain from that term.
I completely understand what you mean. But to me, Republicans have it, okay? The person who works with their hands, the plumber, the mechanic, they get common sense,
Yeah.
okay? But the academics, they didn't have it.
Well, you know what that term is? Educated fool, right?
That's exactly what it is.
This is
I
like,
mean, you don't know the number of educated people I talk to because, I'm a Lasik surgeon. I went through college, med school at University of Michigan, residency, 2-year fellowship. I am educated. I'm more educated than anyone can ever describe. And I didn't just go through this. I studied my butt off everywhere I went. I mean, I studied it so I would remember it forever. Not that I do, but no one studied it like that.
yeah.
And so when I finally got to this point, I said, no, the dummy's got to be everywhere. And that's why I named it the string theory, because for me it was personal. It's the string theory. I'm going to make fun of the quantum physicists just like the vaccinologists. They're going to look even dumber because people thought the physicists were smarter. No one really thought vaccinologists were like these brilliant people. But everyone thinks that about quantum physicists. But they aren't. They aren't. So sorry, but they are not.
Yeah.
So that's why I named this the string theory. But then I stopped calling it a theory because what part of it is a theory? What part?
Yeah.
I only use the antigen to start. No one's ever going to be able to refute that. I only say the antigen and the antibody bind. They show that in their textbooks. How can they ever argue that it doesn't bind? It can't be refuted. I've sent this out to hundreds of people and, immunology editors. Of course, I started getting an inkling of what's going to happen because Journal of Immunology, when I sent it to their chief editor, Eric Olds, emailed it to him, sent him a long thread. Within a day, he blocked me. And then I thought, okay, they don't have an answer, but they want to stay away from me, and they want to pretend they never got it. That's what they're going to do. So then I came up with a clever strategy to make sure they can't block me, like American Academy of Pediatrics. No one has to even believe my string theory. All they have to do is go to the American Academy of Pediatrics Twitter, at Amera Academy Peds. You go to their Twitter home account, and I have 1,800 posts calling them baby killers. And for 8 months, they're deathly afraid to block me. Oh, why don't they block me? Because I'm rude to them. Why don't they just block me? Because I explained to them, I'm educating you guys on the biggest mistake in the history of medicine. You guys forgot that your antibody will stick to your antigen? You put the antigen in the body. The body said, oh, this is foreign stuff. We need to destroy it. That's why it made the antibody. So the antibody is going to stick to that. And then you put the foreign substance in again. You think the antibody won't stick to that? Oh, it will. And in the process of sticking to it, it's going to clump, create a mess, and cause problems. So, yeah, the immunologists don't have an answer.
Right. Well, let me just say, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say we're at the last quarter of our program here. We're in the final stretch. So if you have a specific question for Dr. Lee, hopefully we can take a call at 888-874-4888. 888-874-4888. Please give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have something specific for Dr. Lee, we always love some community participation. But I would love to ask you, Dr. Lee, in terms of my ongoing sort of investigation, and I've asked many doctors this question in so many words, but I'm still very unclear and very curious about, and it's a macabre curiosity, unfortunately. It's a scary thing what's going on with the sudden deaths and a lot of people experiencing all sorts of new, strange medical problems since receiving their vaccines. I mean, quote unquote vaccines, let's say products that were falsely marketed as such. And I mean, we're talking about people who were spry, athletic, active people suddenly with heart conditions, people who are health conscious people with kidney disease or kidney infections, people with cancers, all kinds of things springing up that I'm saying this is abnormal. And then when you look at the larger body of evidence in terms of the Substacks of Dr. William Mackis, the Substack of Professor Mark Crispin Miller, people keeping track of these sudden deaths, these odd cases, canceled concerts, athletes passing out on the field of play, all this stuff. I'm wondering, what do you expect? What do you foresee as the fallout of all of this in the next 5 to 10 years moving forward? I mean, we engaged in this reckless behavior. And so my question is, what is the fallout? And also a question I've asked, which I think ties into that question, is it possible, and if so, how is it possible for a person to have received these negative efficacy injections and not be affected by it? Is it possible that someone could take this harmful product and have not shortened their life in doing so? Well, I hope that's the case, but it's hard for me to understand how, considering how much harm I've witnessed.
Yeah, I mean, I witnessed it too. My mother had 2 strokes and passed away. My dad was behind my back and got vaccinated for him and my mom. She passed away a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago.
Wow, my condolences.
My brother had his second Pfizer shot, and within a week or two had big heart attack and changed his life. Your first vaccine creates a COVID antibody. Ask yourself very carefully, what will happen to that COVID antibody? Will it stick to a virus in the blood? Or will it stick to the spike antigen in the blood from the vaccine? It's going to stick to the spike antigen in the blood. So when the antibody and spike antigen keep sticking, that's a precipitin. And so the precipitin is visible and large enough to block blood vessels, maybe larger than 10 times the size of capillaries. So this explains damage anywhere in the body, because you block off a capillary somewhere, you're going to destroy tissue. You're going to cause ischemic damage downstream from that blockage. So these precipitants, they can activate platelets and white blood cells, because every FC region on an antibody, this is the pure stupidity of vaccinologists. Please tell me why you made the antibody. The body made the antibody to destroy the foreign antigen. How does it do that? The moment the antibody binds the foreign antigen, the antibody changes enough so that the back part of the antibody, the FC region, can now activate FC receptors on white blood cells and platelets and complement.
Wow.
This is like such basic fundamental vaccine science. Why? What does an antibody do? It binds a foreign antigen. And then what happens? That foreign substance is destroyed. How? The antibody changed conformation enough so now the FC region can... This is not me saying this. This is like a million papers that show how this occurs. This is their science. So what I say is the main effect of your antibody is to bind your antigen. And then that antibody can arm the whole immune system that destroys that antigen. This is like, when I say it, and they're just like, their eyes glaze over because they realize how stupid they are. Why do you think you're forming antibodies? To destroy the antigen. It's like, do I have to explain this to you over and over again, you people? Just how dumb they are. Okay.
Well, I have to say, first of all, please follow Dr. Joe Lee on Twitter. He spells out a lot of stuff right there. His Twitter page is too hot to handle. So please jump in there, because some people shy away from his very direct approach. But I think that's what we need, and we all need to rattle the cage, as I've said. We need to spread the word and help this not sufficiently appreciated information get out there. You take it back to RFK, take it back to the other people who tried to overlook this important thing that Dr. Joe Lee is sharing with us. We have a couple of callers on the line. Actually, we have Nina on the line from Queens. Nina, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes. Thanks for calling. How are you today?
I am very, I felt like I was in a world, in a bubble all by myself until you guys talk about this. Not only, it's all coming out now. I speak to Dr. Gary Null also about this. And Dr. Lee, I call you a hero. And you, Jeremiah, for having him on there. And I just pray that none of us are blacklisted for this, because it seems it becomes a political game now. And just for us, for everything that's going on, I feel sorry for Dr. Lee's family, for what they had to go through. But other people also had lost their jobs, because me personally didn't take this political injection. And I'm still been out of a job for 4 years. And it's a struggle, because you think that you're all alone.
Yeah, seriously.
And it's really sad that the government has to fail us this way. And, immunity was the number one thing that I was brought up on. And you have to stay true to what immunity can do. Your body, nature wouldn't have done this to us. It was all politically driven. And I believe that, Fauci and all those crazy scientists out there have to pay for what they did.
I agree.
That's my anger right now. I'm so angry. But you guys bring that to the surface, and that brings me joy, and I see hope. So I thank you guys for being an angel for all of us who didn't take this injection.
Well, thank you so much, Nina.
And there's plenty of hope, because we're on the right side of science and truth and goodness and morals.
Right. And I have to add, Nina, you actually really make a great point, which is a lot of people were economically destabilized and destabilized in the various aspects of their life through all these absurd policies we were subjected to. And then after being kept away from our jobs, then we weren't allowed to return to our jobs because we refused experimental drugs that were being imposed upon us. And a lot of people have not recovered from that. It wasn't just, oh, well, that was then. And a lot of people are trying to sweep all of that under the rug. But a lot of people, they're still in the process very much of recovering. A lot of people have, managed to survive up until this point, but they are not as economically stable as they were before all of this nonsense and all this chicanery. So please bear that in mind, everyone. We actually have Frank on the line in Fishkill. Can we hear from and thank you, Nina, for calling so much. I really appreciate you calling in, and please call again. Do we have Frank on the line?
Yeah, I'm on the line. You hear me okay?
Yeah, great. How are you doing today,
Yes.
Frank?
Very good. Okay. I just got Dr. Joe Lee's name written down, and I usually listen to Gary Null, and I'm catching you at the end here. Anyhow, the reason I'm calling is I'm just thinking that I looked and I see a lot of doctors in other countries talking about the vaccine, and I'm just curious if this information that Dr. Jolie has gotten out to some of these other countries, because I think Japan actually put the kibosh on no more vaccine in Japan, and Russia did something similar, and they said, well, we have to. Because I guess Putin's daughter came down with HIV, and he says, hey, this vaccine is bad news, and he says destroy all of the vaccines in Russia. So, I think there's stuff out there.
That's a good question.
What's the question?
No, I was saying that's a good question for Dr. Lee in terms of, have you had any success, Dr. Lee, in terms of making this information available to people in other countries that might not have the same obstacles we have here in the U.S.?
I can barely get through to the people here.
Yeah,
and I've tried. When Shanghai was shut down, I tried sending all this information to China, to Korea. Korea has a version of their FDA. I tried sending a lot of information. But you know what? It's hard enough for me to reach people here. And this is how bizarre it is. The anti-vax leaders here, you would have thought they would have just sucked up all my information and just spread it out everywhere. But I would never say anything negative about an anti-vaxxer parent whose child was injured. But you have to ask yourself, these anti-vaxxer leaders, why are they here? Like McCullough, why is he here? Was he anti-vax his whole life? Is he even anti-vax? They are here for the little bit of fame because they didn't bring science. they felt that there was resistance, and they felt that people were fighting it, and they somehow, for whatever reason, they joined. It's not because they had information. And so I'm not going to beat up on everyone too much, but this is what the resistance is always more scattered. They're never as unified because everyone has a different reason to fight it. But the ones who are promoting the vaccine, they all have the same, we want the vaccine. But the resistance, the people who fight the vaccine, everyone has their own idea of why they're fighting.
Yeah.
And so what I always tell people is, if you really want to fight it well, you have to agree to use the best science to fight the vaccine. And if they don't do that, then everyone's everywhere. And 98% of the anti-vax leaders on X hate me. So why? Because they're egos. Because if I bring really good science, and they sense this really good, and then what happens to their little, discoveries and their little collection of patient data? It becomes much less meaningful. So they don't want to deal with me. And it's sad. And that's why I call them out. And that's why I call RFK out, because he's the biggest pretend anti-vaxxer who can't even call himself an anti-vaxxer. And he won't use the best science to stop the vaccine. There's a problem there.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Lee, we're running out of time. We literally have just basically 60 seconds left. But I want to thank you so much.
For having me on your show.
Oh, thank you. You were phenomenal, and I hope more and more people hear your clarion call. And keep up the good work. Although you're being discouraged by these negative elements, I know that you will not be daunted in your ongoing effort to get the truth out. Everyone, please subscribe to my Substack. Please follow me on Twitter. We're slowly building up a platform for this show, and I really ask for your help in doing that. I really want to feel you out there. I have a friend that when he goes to a deli and he orders a sandwich, he says, "Let me feel the cheese." Or he says, "Let me feel the chocolate." So, let me feel you out there, guys. I know people are hearing this show, but send me a line, send me an email, send me a message on Twitter. Tell me that you read my recommendations in my last Substack and you followed my advice to open up a medical freedom dedicated Twitter page, and you can start by following Dr. Joe Lee. It's wonderful information to partake in. And it's time for citizens to get educated on their own behalf. So everyone have a great weekend. Thank you, Dr. Joe Lee. Keep up the great work. And, keep fighting the good fight, everyone. Happy weekend. Happy rest of your Friday. Thank you.
Feel the warmth of the rays, and then you're alive, and you don't have